Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Shooting the with Yankee. As always, I'm Yankee, so let's start shooting. Today's topic comes from a chat I had last night where I was having a discussion with an old friend of ours from the old days on the channels. And one thing that I took from that chat is that they are absolutely 100% convinced that the left is going to become extremely violent. And, there's a lot of people on the left that are absolutely 100% convinced that the right is just going to become extremely violent. And there are big mouths on both sides catering to that idea. Mostly, I think, plants that are there to aggravate people and try to get people to do something stupid so that the people that control those voices can profit off of it. And the people in power can maintain division, etc. But I don't think there's a lot of people doing it. But it was just sad to me how certain this person was that there's going to be massive amounts of political violence soon. There was a certainty to them, even though it's not showing in any statistics or anything like that. There's not a sudden rise in violence or anything, but they're convinced it's going to happen, and that was kind of depressing to me. I mean, living your life convinced that the worst is going to happen. I also noticed that they had fallen into that trap of, it's all on the other side. It's the other side that's evil. My side's good. Their side's evil. It's good versus evil. Not American versus American. Good versus evil. When, like I've always said, it's like 5% on one side and 5% on the other. They're extremes. The other 85, 90% in the middle are actually closer to each other than they are either of the extremes, no matter what side of the middle they're on. And most people don't want to commit any violence. And most people don't believe that other people do want to commit a lot of violence. I think poor people, disenfranchised people, they're going to continue to commit violence because we don't do anything to fix our systems. But other than that, I don't think the average everyday Joe is going to go out and cause more violence. Even this kid that assassinated Charlie Kirk, this piece of shit that did that. I mean, he was a kid living in a conservative Christian family. I'm betting he's probably gay. From what I'm seeing, you don't usually date pre-op trannies when you're straight. Post-op, sure, go for it. Pre-op, no, that's not as, you might lose an eye if you don't know what to do. So I'm sure he was probably gay or something like that. And that's why he's had a falling out with his family. And they're talking about how he got more political and more into gay rights and stuff. So he probably had a lot of issues in his life. And that's why he did something heinous. Most people don't do heinous shit. I mean, he's probably a little woohoo too. But no excuses. I mean, he's a monster that deserves every bit of punishment he gets. But as I was saying, I think I lost my topic. I just don't see a massive increase. There's not a massive increase in crazy people. There's not even a massive increase in talking heads that want to promote violence. When you see these people online promoting violence, they're the last person that's going to do it. That Proud Boy that put out that post saying, oh, if you're pro-gay rights, I'm hunting you. If you're pro-liberal, I'm hunting you, that stuff. He ain't going to do shit because he'd immediately go to prison. He don't want to go to prison. He wants you to do something and go to prison. He wants to use you to enact his fantasies, his violence fantasies. Same thing with people on the far left, the ones that are like, now we just need to shoot 3 more of them. Those people, they ain't going to do shit. They're trying to manipulate lefties, young kids on the left and stupid people on the left to do something violent so that they can capitalize off of it, profit off of it. It's all about the powers that be maintaining power and the people that profit off of all this bullshit profiting off of it. Most people don't want to commit violence. That number hasn't gone up. And in fact, just before we started this chat, me and the rest of the chat were looking at the numbers from the Pew Research Center and other sources of U.S. crime statistics, where we looked at crime rates from 1993 to 2023. And it's, there's a little up and down in the 2000s, but it's so much better now than it used to be. And trying to pretend otherwise is just anti-statistic, I guess, just anti-reason. It's like the person I was debating last night when they said, oh, these people have cognitive dissonance. Whenever they see something that they don't agree with, they ignore it and come up with a reason why it's not true. As he did that like 500 times during his speech. Like every time I'd point something out to him, I don't believe that. That's because they did this crazy behind the scenes conspiracy thing. He had to find a way to explain it away. Like when you say, well, all these things you're talking about went to court, courts found that none of it was real. There was no evidence of any of it, but it's because the courts cheated. And you can't just accept what it was. So I don't see any massive spike in violence coming from the right or the left. That's just the way it is. I don't think there's any more people now that are crazy than there was 5 years ago. And I don't think we're going to see any more crazy acts of violence. And when we do, I think they're going to fall into the normal categories. When someone on the left is killed, it'll be someone on the right who did it, if it's political. If someone on the right is killed, it'll be someone on the left who did it, because they don't usually shoot their own. They cancel their own, but don't usually shoot their own. Although I don't doubt some people would. I mean, look at the feuds between some of the far right people and the feuds between some of the far left people. But like I said, it's going to fall into the norms. If it's mass shootings, it's going to be someone with mental health problems that never got the care they needed, or someone who lost everything they owned and were going to act out on their anger. It's not going to be anything new. We're not on the verge of civil war. There ain't going to be no civil war. Most people won't even come out of their living rooms to fucking go to a rally that for something they believe in. So why would they go to war for something? So I don't believe it for a second. I think it's a very pessimistic opinion to have. I think it's borderline mental illness. It's borderline paranoia. Makes me worry for someone that lives their life in that negative space all the time, that everything's going to go bad and everyone that I don't agree with is a monster. And we're divided in this country down the middle by political affiliation of good and evil. Like that's how good and evil would work if it was such a thing. That's what it would do. It would choose one side. It wouldn't manipulate both. So it's just ridiculous. So that's what I think. Let's see what everybody else thinks. And remember, if you want to weigh in on this, you can still do so right up until I say that's it for us today. Feel free to weigh in on what you think on this topic. Just use the YouTube super chat down there. I'll get your question read. We won't be done until we read them all. Also, if you want to help support the channel, which it desperately needs your help, we're a restricted channel on YouTube. Going over to TYMPpistolproject.com. You can buy merchandise from there. There's a link to my Shopify page. You can get stuff like my Bigfoot believeth in Bigfoot Jesus. You can get things like my the first American flag shirt. This isn't a Confederate flag. It's the first American flag, which there's a lot of historical backing for that. So going over there, buy some merchandise, help support the channel, or become a Patreon and subscribe star supporter. Get yourself some cool patches like the Mickey Mouse patch. There's other patches like the Eeyore patch and stuff. Although I don't know what we're going to do about these, because the company that was doing these for me, they got sued out of business and I ain't heard from them for a while. So I don't think I'm going to see a nickel from the ones that did sell. And I don't know if I'll be able to get the other ones. I'm going to ask them, can you at least send me the ones that didn't sell and just keep the money on the ones that did? Because there's only like 20 of each. So there can't be a ton. Because I know like 5 people that bought them. So there's only going to be 15 at most. But as I was saying, I got off topic there. Let's go over and see what other people have to say about this topic. And I hit the wrong button and closed the comments. Okay, let's get it back to it. John M. Mandrick said, just like it is now, individuals that the press and politicians and money grubbers will label to make money. I'm not sure I understand what he said there. Just like it is now, individuals that the press and politicians and money grubbers will label to make money. I'm not sure I get it. I'm sure there's something in there and I'm just missing it, but I'm missing it. Sean Bain says, I don't expect a rise in violence. He was just short and sweet. Yeah, I don't either. Don't see any massive spikes in violence. And people who want to pretend like there's more violence, every time there's like a minor, like, 10 people were killed today when it's usually only 2. So that's a major uptick in violence. No, because then if no one's killed the next 2 days, it evens right back out. So that's not a major spike in violence. John Heasley says, I hope for everyone's sake there's not a rise in violence from either side. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be. I think most people have their own best interests at heart, and that isn't in most people's best interests. Because you go out and commit violence, what happens? You go to prison. Those people don't want to go to prison. Those people that are calling for you and me to go out and do violent stuff, they're definitely not going to go to prison. They're using their positions to try to get us to do their dirty work so that they can have fodder for their campaigns or whatever it is they're doing, whatever their minds they're trying to change. Mr. Furley said, sadly left. They got a taste and want more, I think. You think that's the first time they've tasted violence? I don't think so at all. So I don't see that. It's not like there's not blood in the water or something. One person who was an individual, not even a politician, got murdered in a heinous fashion, which is a tragedy. But let's face it, that happens every day. We don't put our flags at half-mast. Cops, there were 5 cops shot the other day. 3 of them killed. Are our flags at half-mast? Are the politicians, shedding crocodile tears and standing around their wreath? No. This was it was a tragedy that became a political photo op. And that makes it even worse as far as I'm concerned. Makes the politicians look bad. Not that they don't already look bad. Edgar Cortez says, I hope not. Well, I think we all hope not. Well, no, not all of us. There's some people that are relishing it. It's like that it has to happen or they were wrong. If it doesn't happen, well, then I wasn't right. I don't understand that. If I thought it was going to happen, like I was like, oh, I'm really worried this is going to explode like in a powder keg, I would be so happy to be wrong. But there's some people that are just like today I had to admit I was wrong about something. I had to call someone and apologize for yelling at them. It was a very humbling day. But because I found out later I was wrong. So I had to call them and apologize. And I didn't like that at all. But I was glad that I was wrong and that I was glad I was wrong and that they didn't do what I thought they did. So some people, though, they're like, I hope America goes to shit so I can say I told you so. It's like the same people who say, I hope Donald Trump I hope he puts the economy in the shit. Why? Why do you hope he puts the economy in the shit? I'd be like, God damn, I don't agree with his policies. I hope he either changes his policies or I end up being wrong and his policies work. Doesn't seem to be the case yet, but I would hope they do because I hope America does well. I don't want to see people on soup kitchen lines and stuff. Why would someone want our own country to fail? I don't understand that. Just so you can say, I told you so. Wasn't it better to say, boy, I was wrong about that. Things sure turned out better than I thought. That's such a better thing to be able to say, I think. I don't know if most people agree with me, though. I'm just old. I've gotten where I don't care if I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm thrilled to find out I'm wrong. It means things weren't as bad as I thought. It has to escalate when one side wants to turn us into Russia. The right wants a dictatorship, which is treason. Just say it. Well, if they start going for a third term for Donald Trump and they start promoting censorship, things like that, political censorship from the government, well, then I'll say that maybe you got a point. But let's see how it goes. Right now, even Ted Cruz is turning against him on the censorship thing. So that's not a good sign when Ted Cruz is on the side of the Democrats. That was George Powell, by the way. Jumpy Killer Ox says divisive media figures are just over-reporting it, so their mentally unstable viewers cause a tragedy to happen to ban stuff or get dollars because of viewership. That's one of the things I've been saying. They're manipulating it to profit off of it. It's just like a lot of times when the pro-gun community, they get latched onto these just scenarios that are bullshit, ain't going anywhere. They'll be like, well, this senator introduced this bill that says all guns are going to be taken from people. And I'm like, yeah, some whack job senator from, Detroit who ain't never going to get it passed, not even going to get a single cosigner. It ain't ever going to be a thing. But then they'll get it and they'll run with it because negativity sells. And then you end up someone doing something stupid, running someone over with a car or shooting someone. And then the left goes, hey, we got exactly what we wanted. And people fall for that shit all the time. George Powell, it's like I tell people, don't get mad. They always say, oh, we got to get mad, get angry. Don't get mad. Mad people do stupid shit. Mad people get sloppy. when you've actually got something to fight about, get convicted, do something, actually decide you're going to do something. We can't even get most people to donate $2 to save the life of a dying animal, a pet in need. Most people won't even do that. So what makes you think they'll be, convicted through their principles to do something about anything? George Powell chimed in again and says, if we make it a few more years, there will be no one claiming they were MAGA, just like Germans claiming they weren't Nazis. Well, I don't know why anybody claimed they're MAGA anyway. Never understood that. To say that, I think this one politician is the second coming or was appointed by God and, they're the one delivered us from evil. Well, that shows me that you're mentally ill. If you think any politician's doing that, especially if you think Donald Trump, like if you're someone that's convinced yourself that Donald Trump is a good Christian man, how dumb are you? You don't have to be a good Christian to be a politician. Obviously, none of them are. In fact, most Christians aren't Christians. They don't practice what they preach, or they practice what they preach, but they don't practice what the Bible preaches. But I don't know where I was going with that, but I agree to an extent there. Johnny Mandrick says, it isn't going up. Other than a few individuals, no one is going to do anything. Yeah, that's the thing with most things. Positive or negative, most people ain't going to do anything. And the people that do are going to be the same old people. The vulnerable kid who is, an Antifa member and thinks he's going to be famous to the world while he's invisible right now or ostracized because of his sexuality or whatever. If he does this one thing, he's going to be a hero to everybody. Same thing with the kid on the right that does the same thing. Like if I go out with this militia group and I'm a next best thing to a soldier or a hero, it's people that are lacking, seeking something to fill whatever the space that's left by what they are lacking, be it a love of a father figure or acceptance from their community or acceptance from their family or whatever. They're always trying to fill a hole. And they're very vulnerable and they end up doing the wrong thing because they're manipulated. Mark Myers, who also became a channel member today. I was upset that Charlie Kirk received the military honor guard. Yeah, why should did he ever serve in the military? That's going a little far as I'm concerned. I don't think he served in the military. He wasn't some great freedom fighter. He never did much. He didn't cause a revolution in our country that bettered everybody's lives or anything. He went out, spoke his opinion, made money doing it. He was no different than a Crowder or any of these other. Well, he's better than them because I don't see him being a dumbass all the time. But I didn't agree with his positions, but at least he had his convictions, I guess. We got one more person weighing in here, then we're done. And today it is Raymond D. 1776. He said, Phil could make everything possible. He could, but here's the thing. Phil don't give a shit. Phil checks back in with us every now and then, gives people Lyme disease when they deserve it. But, other than that, he checks in every now and then and he just, the monkeys are still here. The day he checks in and we ain't still here anymore, he's probably not going to care. We're definitely not his favorite animal. So I don't really think he's motivated to do much for us. But luckily, he's not motivated to do anything against us unless he thinks we deserve it, or else we'd be fucked. So, but that's it for us today. How about the rest of you out there in YouTube land? What do you think? Is there going to be an increase in violence from the right or the left or both or neither? Or is it just going to be more of the same with a lot of loud people trying to do a lot of bad stuff and everybody else mostly just ignoring them? Let me know in the comment section below. If you want to weigh in on one of these topics in person, come to one of our live chats. We do them every day at 6 p.m. And remember, you can always come in if you disagree with me about something. Let me know in person also. Do a little spank the yank. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody that weighed in today. Everybody participated. I really appreciate it. Hope to see y'all again tomorrow. Until then, remember, but stick around. We're doing the America Guns and Freedom in a second here, so don't go nowhere. But thanks for coming for this portion of the show. I'll see you for this portion of the show again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe till I see you again.